Hello and welcome to presentation 3 of Unit 1, Routine and Persuasive Messages. In this presentation, we're going to go beyond the basics of the communication process. And now that you understand that, look at how you can structure your messages for specific purposes, how you can organize your content to suit different situations. And the basic tool you have for this, the two basic structural ways that you can organize a message are the direct approach and the indirect approach. In the direct approach, you give your bad news or the request in the opening right up front, then you give the reasons justifying it, and then you close on a pleasant note. And even if you use this approach for a bad news message, you do want to keep it pleasant. You're trying to maintain a relationship. This is just one event in an ongoing relationship that you have with the person. And then if the message includes a request for action or something the other person has to do, make sure that that's clear right at the very end, that you've set a deadline, you've been clear on what action's required, and that you've motivated it. And the place for that is right in the close, where you make sure that everyone goes away clear on what the next steps are. So this approach obviously has some really good advantages. It's brief, clear, to the point. It's normally the shortest structure you can use, and you look honest, you look straightforward by putting the bad news or the request right up front. So this is probably the default approach. In the indirect approach, you put off the bad news or the request until you've softened up the receiver a bit. Have an opening buffer where you'll establish, you'll mention your relationship, some things you've done together. So you put you and the receiver on some common ground before you even begin. Then you'll give the reasons for the request, then the actual request or the bad news. So it's just a flip of the order that you took in the direct approach. Again, you'll finish pleasantly, because no matter how negative the message has to be, it's not, in a business setting at least, it's not personal. It's just something you need to get done within an ongoing relationship. And you want to maintain that relationship. And again, if you need some action from the receiver, ensure that there's a clear deadline requirement in the closing. If any of you have children, you're very familiar with the indirect approach, and that you've had the kids come to you, give you lots of reasons why they've been good, all the homework they've done, and then when they think they've softened you up, then they ask for popcorn for supper. So this can be an effective form if your audience you think is going to be resistant, or if there might be some real emotional negativity or some persuasion required. You have to be a little bit careful with it, because although you are being honest, you're not telling any lies here. These are the genuine reasons. This is the request. Although you are being honest, if you prevaricate for too long, spend too long giving the reasons, it can look like you're being a little shady, like you're trying to avoid the topic. So routine messages with the direct approach are pretty straightforward. So let's look at how you might use the indirect approach to structure a persuasive message. So let's look at this approach in a little bit more detail, because you want someone to do something for you, and they're not really obligated. So this might be someone from another department in the college, something that you would like to happen, but that you can't just say, make this happen. So gain attention in a short opening buffer. This might be a feature for a customer or a benefit. You might have a startling statement and just to get their attention, something about an unexpected aspect of the situation, or hey, did you know I also did this? Something you have in common. Then again, in the indirect approach, you put off the request until you've given the reasons. Is there something that you can offer in return? Is there a benefit to the other person? You can have both an emotional appeal here, something that goes to their status or self-image, or a rational approach. But again, that there should be something mutually beneficial, or even if they are just helping you, this is going to contribute to a relationship that has value to them. So you provide some reasons for why they want to do the thing you're going to request. Then you reduce resistance, and this is where you want to be a little careful with not taking too much time here, or it's going to start looking like you're being a little dishonest or a little shady. Why are they taking so long to get to the point? But if you can think of any objections, deal with them up front and ahead of time. If you're dealing with customers, persuading them to take a course, testimonials are really effective, or a guarantee or a warranty. And then make the request, and then again, in the closing, motivate action. In reading, I've put up an extra reading for this unit just to give an example of this that you can take away with you, where someone on your staff has been to a holiday in Bali and taken some great photographs, and you'd like him to come in and give a presentation. And this is going to take some time, but you think it'd be really great for your club to have this presentation, and you think it might be a nice event for the person who's come back from Bali with all of the good photos. So in reading 1.3b, I give you an example of how you might structure, of how you might put these sections of the message to use. For example, for a pleasant opening buffer, I really enjoyed seeing your Bali photos. Establish some common ground. They're not just the usual holiday snapshots. So anytime you're looking to persuade someone, something like that, where you've got some point of agreement, some common ground, a compliment. Here we also add, these photos deserve a wider audience. So as you build interest, I might be able to help with that. My birding club has an opening for a guest speaker. And then you reduce resistance. If someone is doing you a favor, if someone's doing something that will benefit you, what can you do to make it easier for them? If you sent me a selection of your photos, yada yada, I would do the setup, you'd get a nice dinner out of it. These things always include a nice dinner. And you notice, again, in the closing, a deadline, always clear you can do it in the most pleasant possible way, but be very clear when this is due and exactly what you're looking for in action. And that's the thing that people probably leave out. They, once they get the other person to agree, they're so grateful they don't want to press anymore. But without some kind of firm commitment, without a date and a specific action, then you haven't really accomplished anything. So be pleasant about it, but make sure you're very clear in the closing what you're looking to happen and by when. And there you go. That's the indirect approach versus the direct approach. How to use the indirect approach in a persuasive setting. If you have any questions, comments, cachinnations, further examples, please feel free to share them on the discussion forum for this unit. And I thank you for your time. Thanks very much. Bye for now.